There is a moment in the Iliad, the greatest war epic ever written, where the god of war gets stabbed. Not by another god, not by a titan, not by some monster older than time, by a human. A mortal soldier named Diomedes drives a spear into Ares' thigh. And what does the god of war do? He screams. Not a battle cry, not a war roar. A scream, described in the original text as the sound of 10,000 men crying out at once. Then he runs, straight up to Olympus, bleeding, weeping, to complain to his father Zeus. And Zeus, king of the gods, looks at his son, the god of war, crying in front of the entire divine court, and tells him he's the most hated god on Olympus. That is the real Ares, and nobody talks about it. In the next 10 minutes, you're going to find out 3 things that completely rewrite what you think you know about the god of war. Why Ares, built for battle, born for violence, lost almost every single fight that actually mattered in Greek mythology. The one story so humiliating that ancient Greeks told it at dinner tables as comedy. And the moment that proved there was something underneath all that rage, something even Athena didn't expect to find. By the end of this, the god of war is not going to look like a warrior. He's going to look like the most complicated god Olympus ever produced. To understand Ares, you need to understand what he was born to replace. Zeus's favorite child was Athena. She hadn't come from a mother. She had emerged fully grown, fully armored, from Zeus's own skull. Strategic, brilliant, the goddess of civilized warfare. Athens, the most powerful city in the ancient world, was named for her. Hera, Zeus's wife, queen of Olympus, watched all of this and felt nothing but fury. And so she created a son of her own. Not from love, from spite. Some myths say she touched the earth. Others say she drank a potion from the heavens. But the result was Ares, born not from joy, but from his mother's desire to match Zeus's brilliance with something of her own. From the beginning, Ares was the wrong answer to the wrong question. Where Athena was strategy, Ares was chaos. Where she calculated, he reacted. Where she won wars, he prolonged them, because he didn't care who won. He cared that the fighting never stopped. Zeus looked at this son and felt something between disgust and contempt. He once said directly, Ares is the most hateful of all gods. He would have been thrown off Olympus entirely if Hera hadn't intervened. Think about that. The god of war, rejected by the king of gods, tolerated only because of his mother. That wound never healed, and it made Ares the most dangerous kind of enemy, one who had nothing left to prove because nobody believed in him in the first place. The rivalry with Athena defined his entire existence. Every time they clashed, she won. Not with strength, with intelligence. At Troy, she didn't face Ares directly. She guided a mortal soldier's spear into his thigh and watched from a distance as the god of war fled the battlefield bleeding. He had lost to a human, orchestrated by his sister. He didn't even see her do it. That's not a defeat. That's a dissection. But even that humiliation wasn't the story the Greeks loved most. Because before the Trojan War, before Athena, before Diomedes, there were 2 brothers who decided they were going to kidnap the god of war. Not fight him, not challenge him, put him in a jar. And it worked. The Elodi were twin giants, Otis and Ephialtes, sons of Poseidon. Massive, arrogant, and completely convinced they were more powerful than any god on Olympus. They had already started stacking mountains, Ossa on Olympus, Pelion on Ossa, building a ladder to the heavens to overthrow Zeus himself. But first, they decided to remove the one god who might stop them. They captured Ares, bound him in chains, divine chains, forged specifically to hold him, and sealed him inside a bronze jar buried deep beneath the earth. Ares was trapped, in the dark, alone, for 13 months, and the world above began to change. Battles slowed. Warriors hesitated. Wars that should have erupted stalled without cause. Mortals felt it. Something in the air had gone still, like the silence before a storm that never came. Without Ares, war itself lost its engine. It was Hermes who found him. Following faint sounds from beneath the mountains, he descended, broke the seal, and freed the god of war. When Ares emerged, he roared so loud the sky cracked. But the damage was done. The god of war had been bottled by two giants who thought he was easy, and Olympus had watched it happen. Then came the net. Ares was having an affair with Aphrodite, wife of Hephaestus, the divine blacksmith. The crippled god, the one Hera had thrown off Olympus at birth, the one every god looked past. Hephaestus found out. Helios had seen everything from his chariot in the sky and reported it. And Hephaestus made a decision that Ares never saw coming. He didn't confront him. He didn't challenge him to fight. He went to his forge and built a trap. An invisible net of divine bronze thread, finer than silk, stronger than iron, strung across the bed. Then he told Aphrodite he was leaving for a journey and walked away. Ares came. The net closed, and Hephaestus walked back in, then called every god on Olympus to come and see. Apollo came. Hermes came. Poseidon came. They stood in the doorway and looked at the god of war, the most physically powerful male deity on Olympus, tangled and immobile in a net he couldn't break. Apollo asked Hermes, "Would you trade places with Ares right now, chains and all, just to be with Aphrodite?" Hermes said yes, without hesitation. They laughed. Ares didn't escape. Poseidon had to negotiate his release. Hephaestus freed him only after extracting formal compensation. The god of war, released on a blacksmith's terms, after being displayed to every major deity in existence. But here is the layer that nobody includes. After everything, the jar, the net, the mockery, Ares did something no one expected. He protected his daughter. A man named Halirrhothios, son of Poseidon, attacked Alcippe, Ares' daughter, near the banks of a river outside Athens. Ares appeared, not as the god of war, as a father. He killed Halirrhothios where he stood. Poseidon demanded justice. Zeus summoned a trial. Every god on Olympus gathered on a rocky hill above Athens, a place that would later be called the Areopagus, the Hill of Ares, to hear the case. Ares stood before them and didn't flinch. He told them the truth, that his daughter had been violated, that what he had done was not murder. It was duty. Athena presided over the trial, his eternal rival, the goddess who had humiliated him more times than anyone else on Olympus. She declared him innocent, and from that day, the hill became the seat of Athenian justice. The court where mortals would stand trial for centuries was built on the spot where the god of war had finally been found righteous. Ares was mocked, bottled, trapped, and laughed at by every god in the pantheon. And the one place on earth that bears his name is a court of law, not a battlefield, a courtroom. The Greeks knew exactly what they were doing. So here's what I need you to decide. Ares lost every public battle. He was humiliated by a mortal, imprisoned by giants, trapped by a blacksmith, and rejected by his own father. But he was the only god who showed up when his daughter needed him. The only god found innocent by the goddess who hated him most. Does that make Ares the most failed god in mythology, or the most honest one? Drop your answer below. I read every single one.